Okay, now it's time for the second fire chat for the afternoon. So for this fire chat, we'll get to hear the opinion towards three questions. The first one is how content creators are shaping the Web3 economy. Is creator economy still sync with tokenomics and market volatility, and how to prepare for the situation? And the last question is, which markets are most rife with content creators economy? So with the topic, redefining Web3 economic with content creators. So now, please join your hands together to welcome Christian, co-founder from Superfine, and our host, Jess Kanjung, head of strategy from Favor.
All right, how's it going?
Hello, hello. How are you, Chris?
Good. How's it going? Good to see you.
Nice. The weather is nice here. No?
Always nice in Vietnam.
Yeah. So we will be speaking about the Web3 creators economy, and So I'm Jesse. I'm the head of strategy at Favor.com, and we are the largest Web3 social app in the world. And we account for over 50% of the traffic on Lens protocol. Maybe you guys have heard of Lens protocol, and but we are multi-protocol, and we also will deploy soon on Cyber Connect. We have over like 200,000 users, monthly active users, and we grow about like 40% month over month. But we don't have our tokens yet, and maybe. Over to you, Chris.
Yeah, no, thanks for that wonderful introduction. It's so nice to be here. Thank you, everyone, for having us. My name is Chris Calderon. I'm the co-founder here at Superfine, and we're building a growth platform. It's very exciting. One of the first, maybe the first growth platform in Web3 that takes into consideration revenue from all different kinds of sources, which is pretty exciting. Previously, I was a game maker, so I worked on some exciting games like 2048, which was acquired by Ubisoft in 2016.
Nice.
I also worked on a game called Two Dots as a VP of marketing there, where I built our user acquisition platform. That company was acquired by Take-Two in 2020. And I also used to work on mid-core games at a company called Kixeye, where we used to make browser games on Facebook. Also building growth systems and user acquisition models. Back then, slightly different model. And that company was acquired in 2019 by the Stillfront Group. So super excited to be here, and thank you so much for having us.
Wow, so you sound like a gaming OG, right? And so I have an agenda here, but we can just keep the conversation open, right? And so a little bit about me is like I'm born and raised here in Saigon, but I haven't lived here for a long time. I became a DJ in Finland. I live in Finland for a long time now. And the thing about Finland is that we have a lot of gaming companies, right? Like, Supercell and even Tech2. One of my personal mentors is Ben Feder, the ex-CEO of Tech2 Interactive as well. So what brought you from gaming or like hyper casual gaming? I read a little bit about you guys before Superfine. So what brought you from mobile games, I guess, and mobile gaming, hyper casual gaming to Web3?
Yeah, this is a really good question. So in mobile gaming, I felt at the time it was we had a system that was fairly predictable, right? We could predict, even for some games when those games would hit #1 in the App Store, even at what hour. Our LTV was very predictable. We were able to forecast revenue out like 180 days. ROAS and costs were very predictable, understanding our costs on a per user economic basis is very easy to understand. And then like the whole IDFA thing happened, and it changed a lot of how we think about marketing and how we scale our games. Even taking us back, decades of growth tech that was built on top of IDFA had to be redesigned and rethought. And it was in that moment that I realized that, with blockchain, there's all these things that you can do that we weren't at the time aware of or used to, simply because we were operating within the confines of whatever Apple and Google Play had given us, right? Working with the specific identifiers that they would allow us to work with. And with blockchain, you have this immutable ledger that's always there, and it just opens up the possibilities of things that you can do with distribution. I always thought of like content is king, but distribution is God. And we are really focused on helping gamers solve the distribution piece via blockchain. And that was kind of like the moment when we thought that this makes sense to make this move.
So Superfine is an accelerator, or is it like an incubator for like gaming project?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So we build ad tech for Web3.
Okay.
And we're mainly focused on the demand side at the moment. So if you think about the demand side of ad tech, when you're doing user acquisition, you have to understand how to predict lifetime value, how to measure this stuff in real time across maybe hundreds of countries with dozens of networks in real time, 24/7. And so Superfine provides the tooling and the ability for you to measure and do that.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. And so also, that is a topic that is also of my personal interest. A little bit about me is that I also used to run an e-commerce company, you know, and we used to make shoes out of coffee waste. I don't know,
wow.
Have you heard of us? But our biggest growth channel was like Facebook ad and you know, Instagram ads, up until Apple's release like iOS 13 in 2020, right?
Right.
And then they have this app, transparency tracking, which is not for the users. It's mostly for Apple to kill, you know, Meta, so that they can take over the ad business for, you know, for apps to advertise natively on the App Store instead of like advertising through Facebook. So the way that we did like, you know, adapt to the situation is also that with the coffee shop brand is that we partner with a lot of like Web3 games, Web3 channels, right? And but of course, like Web3 by itself even combined all the resource of like, you know, Axie Infinity or like the sandbox, right? It's still not as like, you know, fractionally comparable to like, you know, the lowest daily count of Facebook active users. So, but of course, you know, now we got blocked by Apple, so the profitability like went way down, right? So how do you think that? So I guess like, you know, Superfine was created to part of, you know, to tackle part of that problem, right? And but for now, you know, objectively, out of all the Web3 or like ad focus Web3 in the market, you know, including both GameFi or like SocialFi, we found that, you know, Favor, our social, Web3 social app is like the most effective one, you know, in natively encourage people to, for example, support a certain NFT projects. On average, every single NFT project that connects with Favor increase their floor price by a minimum of like 2 times. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, but overall, you know, I would be completely honest that we haven't found a way to kind of like track it into like the unit level, like, you know, CAC, CP, you know, customer acquisition cost, you know, down to that level yet. Maybe we are not as big yet. We only have 200,000 users. So how does, you know, Superfine can help us, for example, Favor or like other, I don't know, any e-commerce companies, shoe companies, you know, running ads on Favor or using Superfine?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and you're not alone, right? There's a lot of, most actually companies, even some of the largest companies are all having this issue because it's very new. And this is a problem that we've decided to focus on at the moment. And yeah, so it's taking us back to the basics of measurement, right? It's funny, this hasn't changed for hundreds of years. Marketers have been using measurement in order to track cost per sales. Over 100 years ago, through the use of coupons, Coca-Cola was able to understand the cost of a sale to the fraction of a penny, right? And so this is nothing new, right? This attribution and measurement isn't anything new. It's just we've been obfuscated from it from companies like Apple with ATT, right? Or taking the coupon code away from us, right, and making it harder to measure and track. We're just bringing that back. So we're not inventing anything new, actually, but we are building the infrastructure and the piping that allow us to understand and measure this in a revenue agnostic way, meaning that we can track and measure revenue no matter where it's coming from, whether it's your advertisements, in-app purchases, e-commerce sales, token sales, NFT sales, this kind of stuff. It's all revenue that should be attributed to the lifetime value, right, of at the user. I think another challenge here that's quite interesting that early attribution companies will face today in Web3 is when we think about kind of attribution, we should also think about it at the user level, right? If you think about a World Cup soccer player that scores a goal, you don't attribute the goal to the shoe of the soccer player, right? You attribute the goal to the soccer player itself. And it's no different in attribution, right? You don't attribute the action to the wallet, but to the user that owns that wallet. And that user may own many wallets. And so also thinking about this at the user level, I think is really exciting and something that we can do in Web3.
Wait, so how does the Superfine platform works? So how do you track the attributions to the user level? Because that seems like pretty hard. Like that sounds like companies like Chain Analysis that can do that, and that's very expensive, right?
Yeah. So well, if it's actually quite simple using Superfine. It's very easy. So simply, you just put in an SDK if it's a mobile application. We can also work with companies cross-platform across different form factors and platforms, and it's just simply it's just measurement, right, of a user cross-device. So if you think about it, we create a parent user ID for a user. And depending on how you interact with the game, whether it's in the mobile application or the website, each of these forms of interaction have some type of device ID, right, or identifier that you're using to interact with your game or application through that channel or pathway. And this all comes and boils up into a parent user ID. So this is how we think of user level attribution. And we do this also across chain. So we may interact with the user on Ethereum who also may have a wallet address on Solana, on Ronin Chain, on Polygon. Some users have 50 plus wallet addresses. And we want to measure all of this, right? Because again, we're not looking just to measure the shoe, we want to measure the full user. So the value of your digital assets on chain across kind of as many wallets as possible across as many chain IDs as we can track.
Okay, I think I kind of get the idea, a little better now. And so as I understand it, so meaning that Superfine can attribute, like for example, multiple wallets to like a unique user.
Right. Yeah. The fundamental idea here, concept, is separating what you can measure from what you cannot measure. Right. And this has been a concept that scientific advertisers have used for over 100 years. It's nothing any different. We're just simply separating what we can track versus what we can't track, and attributing that to a parent user ID.
Nice. And we gonna zigzag and moonwalk back into our topic of the creators economy, right? And so what kind of customer group that, what kind of partners, customers that you usually work with at Superfine, and how is it related to the creators economy? Do you work directly with like individual creators or like crypto projects creators?
No, that's a great question. Mainly we've been focused on game publishers. However, this technology can be applied to any type of growth problem, the solution that we're building. but we're mainly focused on game publishing at the moment. And that's because my co-founder Quinn and I in the audience both come from a games background. We both worked in games publishing, Quinn at Voodoo and Sky Mavis, and myself at Ketchup and Dots. And we feel very strongly and passionate about solving this problem for game publishers. And so that's what we decided to focus on first.
And are these like native Web3 game developers and publishers, or are they like in transition from like, you know, Web 2, even 8-bit into Web3?
It's mostly native, but it's both. And it's funny, I was in Saudi Arabia a couple weeks ago, and I was lecturing at the King Saud University with a bunch of new game developers that were coming into the market. And all of them were very curious and interested in learning about blockchain. None of them have incorporated it into their games yet. So I feel like we're doing a little bit of both, right? Obviously, we're working with existing game publishers that are Web3 native, that are also expanding out of Web3 into other things like in-app purchases and advertisements. We're also working with, talking to game publishers coming from the other side of the spectrum, coming into Web3. So it's a mix of, I would say, mix.
So, and the channels for these new types of, I don't know, Web3 native ads, are you guys like running on, you know, Google, Facebook, Instagram, or Favor.com? You should really check out Favor.com.
Favor.com, yeah.
The, you know, by far the biggest Web3 social app in the world.
Yeah,
on
sure.
Lens and CyberConnect.
We might tap into there. I'm not if they're using like something like
but
Google
right now,
Supply.
like which platforms? Like most of these native ads, like usually you help your customers to launch.
Currently, Superfine is integrated with, I would say, it's a growing list of ad networks, above 20, on the demand side, and we want to scale this number up as high as possible. Obviously, on terms of aggregating demand. The main ones are the commons, the usual suspects, right? Like Google, Facebook, in Web3, Twitter is very popular, TikTok, Reddit, these kinds of channels. But we're also exploring other channels as well, depending on what our demand partners need. So if we have a demand partner that's more focused on a certain region, like Vietnam, we may focus more on demand partners, for example, in Vietnam, depending on what our partners are looking for. Okay. So we're very focused on helping our partners scale, and actually a lot of our roadmap is predicted out based on what our partners need.
Nice. And so from our personal experience at Favor, right? Like we mostly work with like NFT projects, right? Like I said, like on average, all the NFT projects, we work with some of the biggest one in the world, and on average, like every single NFT project that connects with Favor, they increase their floor price a lot.
Oh, that's cool.
That is like the only, you know, trackable data that we have.
Right.
But you know, we are in a very volatile industry, right? Like you said, you know, like marketers have been tracking their effectiveness or like their efficiency in running ads or like, you know, selling stuff for a long time, for like 100 years, like you said, right? Great information, by the way. And but now, for us, right, we are operating more or less in like cycle-based market, like the whole crypto industry, right? And then also we have like regulatory risks, and also for creator itself, like the creator economy is like, you know, it's a little like, you know, they can move from one platform to another. And then I just read the other day is that like TikTok like activities, and then TikTok like you know, traffic actually plateau for the past quarters. So which is quite alarming, right? Because we don't know what is the new channel, you know, for all these TikTok creators.
Right, yeah.
Yet. Maybe Favor, I don't know. But in general, how do you like instill like confidence in your B2B customers, to trust Web3, in order to like significantly invest in Web3, running ads in Web3, and do everything Web3 natively, because that is one of the biggest issues for us at Favor. If we happen to work with any, even just like an art project, right, which is not like Web3 native. So how do you do that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple parts to this question, right? And actually, I maybe punt back part of it to you regarding the climate, because I'm curious on your thoughts on this as well. I think one of the cool things about performance marketing is it's fairly black and white, right? It's you're either profitable or you're not, and it's just math, right? You can measure it. So if it's performant, it works. If it's not performant, it doesn't work. And so we just try to make sure that it's performant. And if it's not performant, then we know that our partners will not work with us because it's not working, right? And so we're highly focused on performance. And that's why within Superfine, you can set a ROAS target, your return on ad spend. If you want to make 150% profit within 180 days with a maximum CPI cap of $2 or whatever it is in the United States or whatever market you're in, those are all inputs you can put into Superfine and just let it go and let it spend for you. And if it's not going to work, Superfine won't spend. You're not going to lose money if these are the parameters that you set, and if it won't hit those parameters, it just won't go. And so we're highly focused on this concept of performance, right? Putting our money where our mouth is in that regard. But I think what I'm really curious about learning more, and especially from you, is your thoughts on how like current events and the intensity of events that we've seen over the last 2 years have really impacted the market. I mean, so many things have happened, right, with so many, SVB and FTX and all this other stuff. Now, the U.S. government, saying bad things about different tokens, and there's a lot happening. So just curious on your thoughts on how one navigates the current market.
Yeah, so, me personally, I don't speak, for Favor because this is political opinion, right? But I'm not the biggest fan of Mr. Gensler and also Miss Warren, right? But back to business, right? For us at Favor, we are a little different because we don't, so our Web3 social app, we don't work with DeFi projects yet. We focus a lot on what we call the degen crowd, which is the NFT projects. And our community and then our activities like has always like we still have like 40% month-on-month growth, meaning that for us the NFT degen crowd kind of like immune a lot to all these like the interest rate hike and all that crackdown, because we don't do a lot with like high risk trading. We just do it because this duck looks nice, right? And then this lit, that's it. So I mean in a way, like for marketers, we haven't monetized, we haven't like monetized yet, and we have not had our own token yet. So we also kind of like immune from all the crackdowns of the securities. But in a way, like our platform is kind of like a great way for marketers to go in and actually can access like a crowd that's still Web3 native, but not really like market driven. Like their incentive, their thoughts, and their actions are not driven by the news. So,
do you think being in Vietnam, we're a little somewhat protected by what happens in the outside world, given the fact that it's such a high growth country, a lot of talent here working on blockchain? It feels like, I don't know, like it feels like when I'm in other countries, maybe they're a little more sensitive or a little more impacted by these types of changes. But coming back to Vietnam, everyone's still heads down, focused on building, focused on growing, and think about timing. Yeah. Think about timing. I feel like people are talking about, oh, it's just not the right time. We just got to wait. And
yeah,
it's like people are still focused on building.
So I'm not like the best expert in this, because despite being Vietnamese, I never work here. I never work. like my whole professional career here. Like we are a Finnish company, so Favor is a Finland-based company. So meaning that we have even more stringent, rules. Of course, we have different setup for different things, but the main company is a Finnish company, meaning that we are under the EU law. That has like a lot of drawbacks regarding, the EU is notorious for like the conservativeness, and we need to operate in a very tight. That's why we haven't worked with DeFi projects yet, to be honest. But on the flip side, we have a lot of protection as an EU company against big tech, because in the EU we have like, the EU just don't like big tech because those guys are not EU, those guys are Americans, right? And we for example, we have like this Digital Markets Act, and also Article 7, meaning that we can like circumvent like Apple's and Android to lesser extent, like really strict 30% tax on the internet, meaning that we can drive people outside of the App Store without any problem in the EU. And if they have any problem with us, then we just file a complaint, and then the EU will fine Apple like 25% of their profit. Pretty sweet. Yeah, so but like you said, right, in Vietnam, like of course this country, it has like that's why I'm sitting here, right? Like being proud as a Vietnamese, and this country has like the highest blockchain adoption rate in the world, and it is a stable country because a lot of like the highly like blockchain adopted country in the world, like the Pakistans of the world, like they are not very stable, to be honest, right? But this is like one of the very few countries, like the political system, and then the whole society, everything is very stable, and the blockchain adoption rate is still like very like the highest in the world. So maybe that's why. Maybe you can ask G-Host, one of Axie's founders, your fellow American. He's in Puerto Rico now, I guess. He's based there.
Well, if you want to hang out with some more degens tonight, we have the non-fungible party.
Really
yeah,
cool.
I'd love to have you.
You guys,
you want to meet?
are you guys invited too?
Yeah, everyone's invited.
Everyone is invited, right? Yeah, so we have a little more time, right? And we want to interact with the audience. If you guys are interested in asking me, Jesse, or Chris some questions regarding any topics, actually, no need to be like related directly into this creators economy of Web3. So you guys have, feel free. I haven't figured out the logistic yet. Like how are we gonna hold on the microphone?
Yeah, if you have a question, just raise your hand. I'm sure someone will come up.
Raise your hands.
Yeah. I have a question actually.
Oh really?
Yeah. So
you raise first.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
So one of our investors is from Finland.
Which one?
Play Ventures.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Anton just got promoted to partner. You
just
know
got
that?
promoted. Yeah.
He's my guy. Yeah.
Congrats. Yeah, congrats, Anton, if you're listening.
Yeah.
So I'm very familiar with Finnish gaming, obviously via Play Ventures. And I've heard that initially a lot of game developers in Finland had negative reactions towards Web3 as a gaming, in terms of like incorporating it in gaming. Are you seeing kind of like the same? Because here in Vietnam it was like I felt like it was the opposite. Like as soon as Axie took off, there wasn't a single game developer in Vietnam that wasn't thinking about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And during that same time period in Finland, there wasn't a single developer thinking about it. It was like almost like it was like the opposite. From what I heard, just wondering if you're seeing something similar.
Yeah. So Finland is not like I said, right? Like we are under EU laws, and for us, like for founders, like Finland-based founders, like there's always a risk that we can go to jail. Like our CEO used to say so. Like our CEO he's based in Finland, and one of our founders is based in Dubai. Yeah, so that's why they, but everyone, of course, when Axie took off, it's a global phenomenon. It's not, just in Europe, not just in Vietnam or Asia. So a lot of people thought about it, quite a few of them actually follow through with like, Web3 strategies and setup actually. But none of the big guys actually follow. You know why? Because they already had the old system already works for them, right? Yeah. Like Supercell, they still make money left and right and center. And then also, what's the Empire Puzzle from Small Giant Games?
Small Giant Games.
Yeah, they are like one of the, like, they came later after Supercell, and they even have like even more robust, like ad and I don't know, like ad driven, like customer acquisition system than even Supercell. So that's why the reason we haven't embraced Web3 in Finland yet. And a little bit about the Scandinavian Web3 like scene is that most of the biggest project came from Norway, because first of all, Norway is not from they are not in the EU, and they have like some of the biggest projects. Even Alexander is one of Axie's founders, is based in Oslo, and then Dune Analytics is also from Norway. But yeah, Finland, we only have Favor.com for now. No, I'm serious. We had the biggest Web3 project there.
There it is. So why don't you move into Vietnam?
For me personally, yeah, of course I love my home country, right? And yeah, you're gonna see me a lot more here. You guys, you're gonna see me a lot more here as well. Cool.
Let's go.
All right, thanks a lot for your time and for you guys' time. Sorry that Chris took all of your Q&A time, but thanks a lot for great discussion, man.
Let's hear a round of applause for Jesse, everyone. Right. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jesse, and thank you, Christian. And also, thank you for your attention and for your applause to our guest speaker today.